Hey there YouTube, welcome back to the Guitar Slinger Hockey channel. I decided to make a video today because I've been getting some questions about whether or not pro stock hockey sticks are any good, and I am in a position to speak to that because I did actually play on a competitive team where we got free equipment. And that is by far the number one reason why you want to play on a competitive team, so you can get some free stuff out of the deal. Because the stuff costs so much freaking money. Anyways, so what we're looking at right now, besides just decorations, is Easton Mako 2 hockey stick. Even though that's an old beater stick that hasn't been out for a long time, it is a pro stock stick, and I think it is representative of what a pro stock stick really is. And so I think that one of the things that is enticing about pro stock sticks is that there's the lore associated with them. So, you find, your favorite player, you find a stick on like ProStockHockey.com or whatever for $100, $150, and it's, all of a sudden you get to use Patrick Kane's, weird flat long blade with this, a lie of 9 or whatever it is, like a right angle, and therefore you have his stick now. And you can always tell the guys that walk into your locker room, they're like, "What's up, bras? I got a new pro stock hockey sticks, therefore the NHL will be calling me any moment now." So, there's a certain lore associated with it, and I think you can probably say that about most pro stock equipment. But it's mostly around the sticks, and they're alluring because the name brands that you're used to seeing, maybe it's not an Easton, but maybe you see it's a Bauer Vapor or a CCM Jet Speed or something like that. You're like, oh shoot, this stick is like $100, $150, which is the typical price for a new pro stock stick. Right there, that should tell you something. Everybody knows that stick prices are pushing about $299 now for like the new FT3 Pro and the ultrasonic sticks that are out there. And so as soon as you see a price tag of like $100 to $150 for a new stick, and hear that it's a pro stock, that should be a red flag for you. So from my experience of actually being given pro stock sticks, throughout my playing career, I received Mission hockey sticks, one-piece composite sticks. I received the Easton, I think it was the S15, the elliptical shape, tapered shaft hosel area, and then the Makos, which is what you're looking at right now. And so what I will say, you also didn't get very many choices. It was either, do you want right or left-handed? Then you're going to get 100 or 110 flex, and then you're getting a Pro Drury heel curve. Those are that's all your choices. And then you get to cut it and turn it into like a 200 flex stick, and it's just ridiculous from there. So I think starting off with the pros, because I think the pros are not as there's not as many pros as there are cons, unfortunately, in my opinion. So I will talk about the pros, though. They're inexpensive comparatively. So when you look at a stick for $100, it's brand new. It is that's appealing for obvious reasons. And I think pro stock hockey for $150 will give you a pro stock stick with a warranty, but you have to pay extra for it. And so I think that that's a pro, that the price is lower for a brand new stick. I think you can also get a chance to mess around with a stick that maybe is the same one that your favorite player uses. Because as you know, Patrick Kane does not use a Bauer P88 curve. He has something completely different and weird that you can order custom from Bauer, but it is nothing like what you've seen before on a retail shelf. You guys probably already know that, but anyways, so you got the price going for it, and you got the lore of having a stick that maybe your favorite player uses. And right there, I kind of think that's where the pros stop with pro stock sticks. After that, looking at the cons of them, most of them are, so first off, you can't find them consistently. So you may find a curve or a flex or a lie, something that you really like. It's very hard to find that curve and that configuration again unless you just buy a bushel of them, you know, 3 to 5 sticks at a time. And so once you use it and you like it and you break it, then all of a sudden now you have to go find another one that you like because you haven't there aren't any more because that player got sent down the river or they just stopped making it, whatever, the guy retired. They're just harder to find. And then the other thing is the flex rating on them is very stiff generally. If we're speaking in terms of most beer league players and youth players, I would consider like players that are like elite, like major junior players and above. This isn't a problem, but if we're talking about like youth players through 18 years old playing in a regular youth program of some kind and adult rec players, most of the pro hockey sticks are actually a little too stiff in my case. And from what I've seen as somebody who coaches adult rec players, it does not matter how strong they are or how much that person weighs. As you guys know, it's about technique and proper loading of the stick. And the reality is, if you're an adult rec player, you're not going to take the time to learn how to properly, train yourself because why? You're playing beer league, and so you just want something that works with you naturally. And these pro sticks are designed for really big, strong players generally. Even when you get down to the 80 flex, that's still super, super whippy for a lot of pro players. And so having a stick that is really stiff like a piece of rebar is actually going to hurt you. And from a standpoint of like, you're not going to be able to get the velocity on the stick that you want to see. And it's just going to be a little bit of a unwieldy stick. Generally speaking, too, they're heavier. The same technology that goes into a retail model stick is not going to go into a pro stock stick. And you're never going to get that directly out of a manufacturer. If you were to call CCM and Bauer, they would tell you that the same technology is in it. Having a relationship, I will call it, with two folks from Bauer and CCM, they are very different sticks, generally speaking. And so what you'll see a heavier stick because a lot of players in the NHL actually prefer a heavier stick because of how hard the passes are. That heavier stick, especially on the blade area, will help dampen some of those really hard passes that you're not going to see in a rec hockey league game or a youth hockey game. You will start to see that when you get into the Canadian Hockey League and that major junior stuff. But generally speaking, a little bit heavier will dampen the blade and allow for harder passing on those trying to receive a hot pass. The other thing too is durability. I have yet to have a pro stock stick last me longer than 3 or 4 weeks. Usually the blades will blow out on me, doesn't matter the manufacturer. And the reason for that is that the sticks are made with what I would call no frills. There's no real marketing that's going on between these. The marketing that you see when you see a pro player is marketed at you, the retail customer. So it's all of us jokers who are spending the money when we see Crosby wielding his stick around or somebody else. We're the guys that are going and paying for that stuff. There is nothing about those pro stock sticks that are what we're getting when we go to buy a retail stick. Except for maybe the color and the graphic design. Which brings me to another point. When you go online and you see you maybe wanted a Bauer Supreme 2S Pro, and you say, oh, here's one, look, it's only $100 and you buy it. There's not a 100% chance that that's actually a Bauer Supreme 2S Pro. That could be a CCM, it could be an old Easton HTX, it could be something just painted differently. And I think you guys probably know that stuff too. But you have to actually look at the coating on the stick to know whether or not you're actually getting what you think you're getting. And so there's a possibility of just buying the wrong thing on accident. which is, that sucks. But even spending $100 sucks when you get the wrong thing. So, you have the durability issue. You have the flex rating being pretty high for most adult rec players and youth players that aren't playing elite hockey. You have what you may mistake as one stick. The availability is hard to find, so this is not usually something that you're going to find in a shop anywhere unless you accidentally stumble upon it. I can only think of one shop off the top of my head in Surrey, BC, that actually carries Pro Stock sticks. Actually, two shops that carry Pro Stock as a regular basis, and those are always just pro returns from the Canucks, and so they're just hard to find. And so, where does that leave you? So if you have the choice to pick up a Pro Stock stick because you're lured in by the $100 price tag or the $150 price tag, that's all fine and dandy. But just know that you may have a hard time finding the stick again in the event that you actually like it. Most recent example, I wanted to try out a FT2 jet speed about a year ago. My buddy bought a Pro Stock version of it. We played around with it, and we both hated it. Later on, my wife decides she wants to buy an FT2 jet speed, and she bought a retail model one, and I thought it was a 10 times better stick. And there was just, whoever that stick was made for, the Pro Stock one, definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't reflective of the specs that it had on it. So they're just different. And so if you want to try something new, I would be careful with that. Just know that one thing I would definitely recommend against is if you wanted to try out like a vapor flylight, but you don't know whether you like it or not, and so you're thinking about maybe getting a Pro Stock one, don't do that. That will not be an accurate reflection of the retail model flylight. They're just not the same feel. I don't know why that's done, but I think that there's a lot of I think that has something to do with how good the pro players are that are actually having these sticks made. I kind of think it's two things going on. The first one is obviously cost. When you break however many hundreds of sticks per season as a NHL player, and like CCM is making your sticks for you, I would rather break a $50. I would rather have my client break a $50 stick than a $70 stick. It's from a cost of manufacturing type of thing. And so these NHL players that are going through all these sticks per year, those guys aren't paying for it, obviously. So there's just a cost associated with that. So I think that's one thing that you should consider, just kind of keep in the back of your mind too, that they're making them with the expectation that they're going to break really easily and often. So I kind of think that's one of the reasons why you see the low frill price of $100, $150, somewhere in there. Which brings me to another point. One of the problems with Pro Stock sticks is that there is no warranty, unless you want to pay extra for it. So most of these Pro Stock sticks are $100 with no warranty, and I keep referencing $150 because ProStockHockey.com, which is a really cool company, if you spend, you can actually pay an additional $50 to get a warranty on that $100 stick. So that's why I keep referencing the range of $100 to $150. But that is negative that your $100 Pro Stock does not come with a warranty of any kind. Obviously cost is a concern to most people, but you'll do what you do with the money that you have available. But if you had the choice to buy a Pro Stock flylight or a retail model flylight, there'd be no question that I would push somebody towards the retail model. They're just made to last a little bit longer, and just kind of think about that. If your flylight only lasted a month, that's still probably longer than it would have lasted if you had the pro stock version of it. So yes, I'm kind of hating on the pro stock stuff, but I've never had any really positive experience with them other than price. And then kind of one side note that you guys should consider too, that a lot of times you'll see pro stock skates out there. Now the quality and durability of these pro stock skates are actually as good, or if not better, than what we can get at the retail model. However, the problem that you're not going to see a lot of times is that both skates are never the same size. And so you may see something that says fits like an equivalent of an 8D. Well, what that may mean is it's pretty close to an 8D, but you don't know if that left skate is a 7 3/4 and the right is an 8 1/4. The other thing you don't know is that even if they are both a size 8D, you don't know what that person's foot volume is like, how deep the heel is, or if they're a low volume, high instep. There's so many things that go into it. And so recommending you avoid pro stock skates unless it's very descriptive on what it is on the sizing, and you know exactly what you wear on the custom sizing. I would avoid those too. So, I guess what I would say is that just when you're looking at pro stock sticks, coming back to that, just know that they aren't the end-all, be-all in quality. In fact, they're kind of low-end in my experience with them. They never lasted very long for us on the teams that I played on. And, I know what I wanted to say. Sorry, I'm jumping around, but back to the elite hockey player mentality. We got to remember that these guys can play with a piece of rebar. Most rec hockey leaguers and youth players cannot. Myself, I have been a pro guitar player. That's my main thing that I've been since I was 7 years old. I've been playing. I did it professionally for 12 years, and you can give me literally any guitar on the planet, and I can tune it and play it just the same. Whether it's a $50 guitar from a pawn shop, or it's a $10,000 Breedlove acoustic, or any other Gibson, or whatever you want to say. I can play it just the same. Now I'll be able to tell the difference between the cheap one and the expensive one for sure, but I'm going to be able to handle that guitar just as easy as any other guitar. And the same thing applies here with pro stock sticks. You give a stick to Ovechkin, he's either going to, or let's say Zdeno Chara, he's going to be able to take a cheap stick for like $50 retail, and he'll be able to hit it. He'll be able to take a 100-mile-an-hour slap shot with it, and then he'll take a high-end one and hit a 105-mile-an-hour slap shot with it. So it's like, I don't think there's going to be that big of a difference for those pro guys. Could be wrong, but just my hunch. So, anyways, I hope this kind of gave you a little bit of a heads up on the pro stock stick stuff here. A little touching upon the skates as well. Don't hesitate to buy it. I know the price is good. Just know what you're getting, and be sure you know what you're getting when you order them. Or if you pick them up online, and your expectation should be that it's going to be less durable than a retail stick. And if you don't care about finding the same curve and configuration again, have at it, have a good time with it. I will also pepper in one last thing about pro stock gear. Other than that, like protective and jerseys, that stuff is far superior. And most of that stuff you can't even buy retail. Like the pro, if you get the RBK Pro shin pads, shoulder pads, elbow pads, you can't get that stuff very many places, and you're going to pay a premium. But when you do, that's the kind of gear that'll last you most of your playing career. It's really, really high-end. I don't know why they stopped making that stuff, the old Yofa gear and RBK stuff. But anyways, I digress. So anyways, I hope this helped clear up some of those questions. And let me know if you guys have any questions, and I will get back to you. Other than that, peace out.